Welcome back to the Third Shift Crafts podcast. I'm Lauren, and today we're talking about one of my absolutely favorite things in the world, Sunday dinner on the grill. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, there's just something about a meal cooked outside that feels different. It's not about the food, though don't worry, we are definitely going to talk about the food. It's about the whole experience, the slowing down, the gathering together, the way the fire has this almost magnetic pull. People can't help but wander outside, peek over your shoulder, and stand around while the smoke drifts and the smell fills the air. For me, Sunday dinner has always carried a certain weight. It's not just another meal, it's the reset button at the end of the week. It's a way of saying, okay, the chaos of the last few days is behind us. Let's gather, let's eat, let's savor, and when that meal happens outdoors with fire as the centerpiece, it just hits differently. Maybe it's the ritual of lighting charcoal and waiting for the coals to glow. Maybe it's the anticipation when you open the grill lid and the smoke curls out. Maybe it's the way food tastes when it's kissed by flame and cooked slowly, with time and attention. Or maybe it's all of those things woven together. So, in this episode, I'm going to walk you through one of my go to Sunday dinners: smoked spatchcock chicken with baked sweet potatoes and some zucchini on the side. Don't worry if that sounds fancy or complicated. It's not. I'll talk about timing, about choosing the right fuel, and about how to adapt this kind of recipe depending on your setup, whether you've got a kettle grill, a smoker, or just a reliable gas grill on the deck. But more than that, we'll talk about why it matters. Because yes, the food is delicious, but the real magic is in the moments around it. The stories while you wait for the chicken to finish, the laughter when someone sneaks a bite of sweet potato before it's ready, the clink of glasses as the sun dips lower and the evening stretches out in front of you. And I'll share one of my favorite stories about gathering around the grill with family and friends. Because honestly, those are the moments that make all the prep, all the waiting, all the smoke in your eyes chaos worth it. Now, if you're listening to this and thinking, okay, Lauren, but I don't have a fancy setup, let me just say this: you don't need one. You don't need a Kamado Joe or a Traeger or a whole line of grills in the backyard. Though I'll admit, I do collect grills the way some people collect shoes. Each one has its own personality and purpose. But you don't need all that. You can make a meal like this on whatever you've got. Fire is universal. Flavor is universal. And the joy of gathering around a Sunday dinner, that belongs to all of us. So here's what you can expect in this episode. I'll walk you through the recipe step by step: how to spatchcock a chicken, how to time your sweet potatoes, how to pull zucchini together in minutes. I'll share some little tips I've learned the hard way, like what to do if your fire's running too hot, or how to keep your chicken skin crispy instead of rubbery. And I'll remind you over and over that none of it has to be perfect to be worth doing. Because at the end of the day, Sunday dinner isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about saying, come on outside, sit with me, let's eat. So whether you're listening with your morning coffee, or tuning in while you sweep sawdust off your workbench, or maybe even with tongs in hand at the grill, I hope this episode gives you a little spark of inspiration for your own Sunday dinner. Alright, let's dig in. There's something about Sunday dinner that just feels different. I can't fully explain it, and maybe you can't either. But Sunday dinner has a weight to it. It's not a random Tuesday night meal where everyone's rushing, balancing plates in front of the TV, or eating leftovers straight from the container. Sunday dinner is a pause. It's a moment where the week behind you and the week ahead both fade for a while, and you're just here, with the food, with the people, with the fire. And in my world, Sunday dinner has almost always turned into a whole chicken. I don't know how it happened, but it did. It's almost like a rule now. Sometimes it's smoked, sometimes it's grilled, sometimes it's sous vide first and then seared off for that golden skin. But somehow, some way, if it's Sunday, there's a whole chicken on my table, always with some kind of potato and a vegetable on the side. It's funny, because on paper, that sounds pretty simple. It's not a fancy spread with 7 side dishes or a complicated holiday menu. It's not about reinventing the wheel every week. It's just a chicken, a potato, a vegetable, but the rhythm of it, the repetition, that's what makes it special. It's predictable in the best way. And I think that's part of why Sunday dinner matters so much. It's not just about the food itself, it's about ritual, it's about tradition. It's about knowing that no matter how chaotic the rest of the week has been, whether you burned through Monday at full speed, stumbled through Wednesday half asleep, or dragged yourself to Friday's finish line, Sunday is a reset. Sunday is steady. Sunday is chicken on the table, potatoes steaming, vegetables cooked just right. There's comfort in that. When I think about my own Sundays, they're not just meals, they're memories. I can picture myself outside tending the grill, the smell of charcoal in the air, the quiet of the afternoon broken only by the occasional sizzle as fat hits the coals. I can hear the crackle of firewood if we've got a fire pit going, or the hum of conversation as people wander out to see what's cooking. I can see the way everyone drifts towards the food like it's magnetic, because let's be real, it is. And every time, I think, this is what Sunday is for. Sunday dinner matters because it slows us down. We live in a world that runs at full tilt all the time. Email pings, schedules fill up, meals get squeezed into gaps between obligations. And honestly, most of the week, food is about convenience. It's fuel. It's what's quick, what's easy, what'll get me back to the next thing. But Sunday dinner resists that. Sunday dinner says, no, this meal deserves time. Whether it's waiting for smoke to do its work, or basting a chicken in the oven, or even prepping sous vide in the morning so it's ready to sear later, Sunday dinner is slower. And in that slowness, something shifts. Sunday dinner matters because it gathers people. Even if it's just two or three of us, the act of making a whole chicken feels like an invitation. You don't roast or smoke or grill a whole bird just for yourself. Not usually. A whole chicken says, this is meant to be shared. And the sides, the potatoes, the vegetables, they fill the table. They round it out. They turn dinner into a meal. People sit down, pass plates, ask for seconds. They talk, they laugh, they linger longer than they would on a Tuesday. And Sunday dinner matters because it teaches us to savor. I think that's why the chicken always shows up for me. A chicken takes time. It's not a quick fry or a microwave beep. It's seasoning, it's waiting, it's basting, it's monitoring the grill temp or the smoker. It's an act of care. And when it's finally on the table, it feels earned. You carve into it, you scoop potatoes on the plates, you add a spoonful of zucchini or whatever vegetable made its way into the rotation, and for a moment, the world feels right. There's something deeply grounding about that. Now, don't get me wrong, not every Sunday dinner is smooth sailing. I've had plenty of them go sideways. Chickens that cooked too fast and dried out, potatoes that somehow managed to be both burned and undercooked at the same time, vegetables that slipped straight through the grill grates because I was too distracted to use a pan. But here's the thing, nobody remembers those dinners for the mistakes. They remember them for the togetherness, for the fact that we showed up, we cooked, we ate, we shared. That's why Sunday dinners stick in our memory. They're not about perfection, they're about presence. And here's the best part, Sunday dinner doesn't have to look like mine to matter. Maybe for you it's pasta. Maybe it's tacos. Maybe it's a pot of soup simmering all afternoon. Maybe it's takeout you bring home and eat together without distractions. The details don't matter. The heartbeat does. The heartbeat is this. Sunday dinner is the meal that says, slow down, sit down. This matters. For me, it just happens to be a chicken, a potato, and a vegetable. Week after week, somehow always the same, and yet somehow always different. Depending on the cooking method, the seasoning, the company at the table. And when I think about it, that's kind of the magic. It's simple, it's repeatable, it's humble, but it's also sacred in its own quiet way. It's a ritual of care, of connection, of savoring. That's why Sunday dinner matters. Because at the end of the week, when the world feels like it's been pulling you in 100 different directions, There's something powerful about gathering around one table, one chicken, one meal, and realizing this is enough. Here's the thing about Sunday chicken, it's not complicated, it's not fussy, it's not the kind of meal that has you running back and forth with 12 different ingredients, flipping pages in a cookbook, or Googling what sous vide even means. For me, it always starts the same way, with fire. I head out to whatever grill I'm using that day, and if you've listened before, you already know that I have a few. Some people collect sneakers, I collect grills. The Kamado Joe kettle for that smoky flavor, the Traeger when I want consistency and ease, the flap top for when I'm in a hibachi kind of mood, and of course the trusty gas grill for those nights when I just want dinner without too much fuss. Each one has its own personality, its own quirks, its own way of coaxing flavor out of food. So, step one, fire it up. Light the charcoal, spark the propane, start the pellets humming. Whatever the setup, the ritual is the same. There's this quiet joy in waiting for the grill to come alive, and feeling the heat rise, and seeing that first curl of smoke. It's a signal. Sunday dinner has officially begun. Now, the chicken itself. Sometimes I spatchcock it, which is just a fancy way of saying I cut out the backbone and flatten it so it cooks faster and more evenly. If you've never done it before, it sounds a little intimidating, but honestly, it's not bad once you try it. And it has this added bonus of making the chicken look extra impressive when it comes off the grill, all golden and crisped up. Other times, I keep it whole. There's something classic about a whole chicken roasting or smoking away, the skin tightening, the aroma building, the anticipation rising. Whole or spatchcock, the bird doesn't mind. Either way, it ends up delicious. Seasoning is simple. Always a binder. Usually avocado or olive oil. Nothing fancy, just enough to help the spices stick. And then my holy trinity: kosher salt, black pepper, and garlic powder. Those three are non negotiable. They're the base, they're the foundation. After that, sure, sometimes I get adventurous. A little paprika, some herbs, maybe a rub I've been curious about, but those three are always there because they've never let me down. And here's the thing, you don't need a spice cabinet that looks like a grocery aisle. You just need a few reliable flavors and a willingness to experiment. I've learned that over time, sometimes less really is more. By the time the grill is ready, the chicken's seasoned, the sides are prepped, and I'm usually already holding a glass of wine. Red, white, rosé, depends on the mood. Sometimes it's homemade, sometimes it's store bought, but either way, it's part of the ritual. Wine in hand, fire crackling, chicken ready to go. Then comes my favorite part, putting the chicken on the grill. There's a sizzle as it hits the grates, a puff of smoke, the smell of garlic and pepper and fat starting to crisp. It's one of those moments where you know something good is about to happen, and then you wait. But it's not the impatient waiting of a microwave timer, it's the good kind of waiting. The kind where you sip your wine, wander back inside to check on potatoes, or just stand there listening to the fire, feeling the day start to slow down. The potatoes are always part of the equation. Sometimes it's sweet potatoes, sometimes it's regular russets. Sometimes I throw them right on the grill, let the skins crisp up, and the insides turn soft and fluffy. Other times I wrap them in foil with a little oil, salt, maybe some herbs, and let them steam inside their little packets until they're tender. Either way, they're comforting, filling, and dependable. The kind of food that feels like home. Vegetables, that depends on the week. Sometimes I'll throw zucchini or asparagus straight on the grill, char them just enough to get that smoky edge. Or other times I'll steam them in the microwave. Nothing fancy, just a quick, easy side. And yes, I'm not afraid of a bag of frozen veggies either. I know some people get picky about fresh only, but listen, when you're balancing life, sometimes the frozen bag of broccoli is the hero of the night. And guess what? It still tastes good. Meanwhile, the chicken does its thing, slowly, steadily transforming under the heat. The skin turns golden, the aroma fills the air, and every once in a while I lift the lid just to peek. Not because I need to, but because I can't resist. There's something deeply satisfying about watching that progress in real time. Now I'm a stickler about temperature. I aim for 155 to 160 degrees in the thickest part of the breast because carryover cooking will bring it the rest of the way. That way, the meat stays juicy, tender, and flavorful. And yes, I do use a thermometer. Gone are the days of guessing or poking at the bird to see if the juices run clear. A thermometer is the difference between dry disappointment and that perfect juicy bite. Once the chicken hits temp, I pull it off and let it rest. 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it needs. And that resting time is sacred. It gives the juices time to redistribute, but it also gives me a chance to reset, to pour another glass, to gather the sides, to call everyone to the table. Finally, carving time. There's this moment, the knife slicing through crisp skin, the steam rising, the first taste test that feels like the payoff of the whole week. That chicken is tender. The potatoes are ready. The vegetables are on the side. The wine glass is full. And just like that, Sunday dinner is served. It's simple, it's straightforward, but it's perfect in its own way. Because Sunday chicken isn't about being fancy. It's not about impressing anyone. It's about creating a rhythm you can count on, a ritual you look forward to, a meal that anchors you. It's about fire and flavor, yes, but it's also about presence, about gathering, about ending the week with something that feels whole. And that's why, week after week, Sunday dinner keeps turning into a whole chicken with potatoes and a vegetable, because sometimes the simplest meals are the ones that matter most. Here's the thing I've learned after doing this whole Sunday chicken ritual for years: there's no one right way to do it. And if you've listened to me long enough, you know I'm a big believer in progress over perfection. That applies to woodworking, it applies to winemaking, and it absolutely applies to cooking on the grill. So I want to pause the story for a second and just talk tips, practical stuff, things that have helped me, mistakes I've made, ways you can take this idea and make it your own. Because if Sunday chicken is going to become a ritual for you, and honestly, I kind of hope it does, then it needs to fit your life, your tools, your schedule. Let's talk timing first. Whole chickens take time. That's just the reality. Whether you spatchcock it or not, whether you're smoking low and slow or grilling hot and fast, you're still looking at least an hour, sometimes closer to two, which is why Sunday works so well. Sunday isn't usually the night where you've got kids' activities or late meetings or a dozen errands to run. Sunday has this built in exhale to it, a little more space, a little more patience. But here's the part I love: Sunday chicken doesn't demand your full attention. Once the fire's going and the bird is on, you're really just checking in every so often. It's the opposite of a fussy recipe. It's passive cooking, which means you can sip your wine, fold a load of laundry, or just sit there and watch the smoke curl. The timing matters, yes, but it's also forgiving. If you're busy, you can spatchcock the chicken so it cooks faster. If you're relaxed, leave it whole and let it take its time. Either way, you end up with dinner. Now, fuel. This is where the grills really show their personality. Charcoal gives you that deep, smoky flavor and those gorgeous grill marks. Pellets, they're consistent and almost effortless. Just set the temp and let the machine do the work. You'll get a subtle hint of smoke. Gas, super convenient, and honestly, it turns out a chicken that's still delicious. Here's the trick: don't overthink it. Use what you have. I'll tell you right now, I've cooked some amazing chickens on the gas grill when I just didn't feel like fussing with charcoal. I've also had days where I wanted to tinker and play, so I lit the Weber kettle and babysat the coals just for the fun of it. The fuel you choose doesn't change the cooking process, it changes the flavor. Charcoal adds that campfire depth. Pellets can add subtle notes of hickory or applewood. Gas gives you clean, straightforward heat. None of them are wrong, they're just different. So here's my tip: pick the one that fits your mood, not just your recipe. If you've been around barbecue culture at all, you know people get intense about rubs and marinades. I love a good rub as much as the next person, but let me let you in on a secret. Salt, pepper, and garlic powder will take you farther than you think. Those three are the foundation. They bring out the chicken's natural flavor without burying it. And once you've got that base, you can layer on anything else you like. Smoked paprika for a little warmth, lemon zest for brightness, herbs if you're feeling fancy. But don't let perfect seasoning be the thing that stops you from trying. You can make an incredible chicken with what's already in your spice rack. This one's big. Sunday dinner doesn't have to mean 3 hours in the kitchen making sides from scratch. Your energy levels should guide your sides. If you're in the mood to play, throw veggies on the grill, toss them with oil and salt, lay them across the grates, and let them char. If you're tired, microwave a bag of frozen broccoli. There's no shame in it. It's still a vegetable, it still hits the plate, and it still does the job. Same with potatoes. You can go rustic, foil packets with herbs and oil, crisp directly on the grill, or you can go simple. Throw them in the oven and forget about them until they're soft. Or honestly, you can even nuke a couple if you're short on time. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. Pick what matches your day. There are two tools I swear by for Sunday chicken. One, a good thermometer. I cannot stress this enough. Don't guess, don't poke, don't hope. Get a thermometer. Pulling chicken at 155 to 160 at the thickest point in the breast and letting it rest makes the difference between dry and juicy. It's the one tool that will instantly make you a better griller. And two, foil. Not glamorous, not fancy, but absolutely essential. Foil keeps potatoes contained, veggies from slipping through the grates, and sometimes even saves the chicken if your fire gets a little too wild. Everything else is optional. Cast iron skillets, basting brushes, drip pans, they're all nice to have, but not required. Don't let the lack of tools or equipment stop you from cooking. Here's a big one. Don't let the idea of a perfect grill stop you. Got a gas grill? Great. You can still make a fantastic chicken. Only have an oven? Roast it inside and light a candle to pretend it's smoky. Maybe add some liquid smoke to the pan. Apartment living? With just a stovetop? Spatchcock that bird, sear it in cast iron, and finish it in the oven. The point isn't to replicate my setup. The point is to take the spirit of the ritual, slowing down, making a whole chicken, gathering around it, and make it fit your space. I've had listeners tell me they've done Sunday chicken in toaster ovens, in Dutch ovens, even sous vide, then seared in a skillet. It all counts. For me, wine is part of the ritual. A glass in hand while the bird cooks, another with the meal. It ties into the slowing down aspect. But if wine's not your thing, swap it for whatever feels like a treat. I've had Sunday chickens with iced tea, with craft beer, with a fancy seltzer. It's less about the drink itself and more about marking the occasion. Pick something that tells your brain, this is special, this is different, this is Sunday. And maybe that's the heart of all these tips, adaptability. Sunday chicken works not because it's the best recipe in the world, or the most exciting, or the most impressive. It works because it's repeatable, it's comforting, it creates a rhythm. Your grill doesn't have to match mine. Your sides don't have to match mine. Your drink doesn't have to match mine. The beauty of this ritual is that it flexes with your life. One week, it might look like a perfectly spatchcocked bird smoked on charcoal with rosemary potatoes and grilled zucchini. The next week, it might be a whole chicken roasted in the oven with a microwave bag of green beans. Both are valid. Both are beautiful. Both are Sunday dinner. And that's the best tip I can leave you with. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't wait until you have the right grill or the right spices or the right setup. Start with what you have right now. Fire up whatever heat source is available. Season that bird simply. Pair it with a starch and a vegetable, and let the ritual do its work. Because at the end of the day, it's not just chicken, it's the rhythm of your week. It's a chance to gather, to savor, to create something with your own hands, whether it's wood or wine or fire. You know, I've talked a lot about the process, the fire, the seasoning, the timing, the sides, and all of that is important. It matters. But here's the truth. If Sunday chicken was only about the food, I don't think I'd still be doing it every week. I don't think it would have morphed into this ritual that anchors my weekends. What really makes it matter? It's the gathering. The fact that a whole chicken is never just a meal. It's a centerpiece. It's an invitation. There's this funny thing that happens when you cook outdoors. Everyone drifts towards the grill. It doesn't matter if you're alone and the neighbors walk by, or if you've got family over, people gravitate towards the fire. Maybe it's instinct, maybe it's smell, maybe it's curiosity, but this creates this natural pause point, a place to gather, even if it's just two people standing shoulder to shoulder, wine glasses in hand, peeking at the thermometer like they're checking on a baby. The waiting, that 10 minutes of is it done yet, somehow creates conversations you wouldn't otherwise have had. The grill becomes a little confessional booth, a little community circle, a little heartbeat of the night. I can't tell you every detail of every chicken I've ever cooked. I don't remember the exact wood chips I used in 2020 or which week I did sweet potatoes versus russets. But I remember the people. I remember laughing around the grill when the wind almost blew my paper plate across the yard. I remember sitting with a friend, splitting the crispy wings, both of us reaching for the same piece at the same time. I remember carving a bird that fell apart because it was so tender, and the look on someone's face when they realized grilled chicken could taste like that. The chicken becomes this backdrop, quiet constant. The real story is who's gathered around it. And here's the thing, these moments aren't fancy. They're not Instagram perfect, styled with linen napkins and candles and overhead lighting. Half the time, it's paper plates, a roll of paper towels on the table, and a folding chair that squeaks when you sit down. But what makes it stick? It's real. It's accessible. It's something anyone can do. You don't need a giant smoker or a Pinterest worthy tablescape. You just need a chicken, some heat, and a willingness to share. When I think about Sunday chicken, it's not just a meal, it's a rhythm, a marker in the week. It tells me, slow down, the weekend is ending. Gather what matters most around you. And honestly, that rhythm spills into everything else I do. The same way I measure time in the shop by the projects I've built, mistakes, mess ups, masterpieces, I measure these seasons of life by who's been around the table with me. When I think back, I don't just remember the woodworking projects or the bottles of wine or the meals on the grill. I remember who was there. That's what sticks. Maybe that's the biggest lesson this weekly ritual has taught me. The food is the excuse, not the point. Yes, it's delicious. Yes, it's satisfying to pull off a perfectly juicy chicken. But what it really does is give you a reason to pause, to gather, to mark the end of one week and the beginning of another with something that feels both ordinary and sacred at the same time. And that, I think, is why people remember meals more than they remember days. A chicken dinner doesn't just feed your body, it gives you a story, it gives you a memory. So if you've been listening to this and thinking, well, I don't have the right grill or I don't have the people to share it with every week, let me tell you this. Start anyway. Start with one chicken, start with yourself, start with what you have. Because the people, they'll drift toward the grill. The moments, they'll happen whether you plan them or not. The memory, it will write itself. And that's what makes Sunday dinner matter. So that's a Sunday dinner on the grill. A chicken, a potato, a vegetable. Simple but never boring. Ordinary but always memorable. If you've been listening along, I hope this episode reminds you that making doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be extravagant. It doesn't even have to be consistent in every detail. What matters is that you carve out the time, whether it's in your garage workshop, around your grill, or in the kitchen with a pot simmering on the stove, and that you use that time to anchor yourself. I know for me, Sunday chicken isn't just about the food. It's about resetting. It's about looking back at the week I just had and forward to the one that's coming. It's about taking the time to gather with people I care about, or even just with myself, and saying, this moment matters. And here's the thing, you can make your own version of that. Maybe it's not chicken for you. Maybe it's tacos on Tuesdays, or baking bread on Saturday mornings, or even a simple glass of wine on Friday nights when you finally clock out. The point isn't what's on the plate. The point is the ritual. The gathering, the pause that tells your body and your brain you're allowed to slow down. You're allowed to enjoy this. Because here's the truth: life doesn't get less chaotic. It doesn't suddenly open up with endless hours for woodworking or grilling or winemaking. You have to claim those moments. You have to make them. And when you do, they stick. That's what I want this podcast to be about. Not perfection, not Pinterest level production, but building and cooking and creating in ways that root you in what actually matters. So if you like this episode, if it sparked something in you, or if you just want to keep hanging out with me while we figure out this whole crafted by hand, rooted in home life, here's what you can do. First, hit that subscribe or follow button wherever you're listening. That way you won't miss future episodes, because we've got a lot more stories, builds, and recipes coming your way. Second, share this episode with a friend. Maybe someone who loves to cook, or someone who's just learning woodworking, or someone who's been saying they need a new hobby. Send it their way and invite them into this little community we're building. And finally, if you want to connect beyond the podcast, you can always find me at thirdshiftcrafts.com. This is where you'll find the blog, more stories, and of course the woodworking, cooking, and winemaking projects I'm tinkering with. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening, for showing up, and for letting me share my Sunday chicken ritual with you. I'll see you next time. But until then, I hope you build something, cook something, or craft a little space to breathe.